What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Beard of Darkness and, well, Beard of Darkness book reviews. I got to finish my name. I'm very excited to have this lovely young lady on tonight that I've heard so much about, whether it's from my guy, and I'm pointing to his books. That's why I'm pointing. Josh Walker, and so many other people that I've talked to on the channel, especially a lot of the, what's the group they have? It's like the new indie writers. I can't remember the Discord that they have. But how is it, or how are you tonight, LiviaJElliot?
Super excited of being here.
And
so thank you for inviting me.
Oh, 100%. I'm very excited. So first, I kind of like to start, where are you coming from? I know we're in different time zones.
Yeah, so I'm currently on Canberra, which is the capital city of Australia, but you can probably hear it. I'm not Australian, I'm from Argentina. So
Okay.
I have been living here for 5 years. So in case you're wondering, I also speak Spanish.
Bueno. So I absolutely love culture. I think that is, I don't know, I wasn't prepared for the amount of interest that I would gain for culture. So whether it's somebody in Australia like yourself, but with an epic backstory, I love that you're from Argentina. And who else have I? So New Zealand, I believe Brazil, or no, maybe South Africa. I can't remember where Chego's from. Anyway, how is it's, what time is it? Noon there?
Noon, yeah.
Noon. Okay.
11:30 a.m. So
11:30. Yeah. So you're, let's see, 9 hours.
I think so, yeah.
Incredible. So tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Yeah, for sure. So I do a lot of things. I have a lot of labels. I have a podcast that is called Books Undone. It just turned 1 year, in which I do long form content only, books analysis and deep dive discussions. I don't do TBRs because I'm one of those people that get stressed over a TBR. So I don't do that. And yeah, I have been reading. I started with 1 episode per month. I managed to do 2 episodes per month, roughly, more or less. I also publish books with choices, what is known as interactive fiction, through this app called Unearthed Stories that I developed with my partner. And we are actually doing a release next week. So
incredible.
Something. And yeah, it's going to be nothing like this book. It's going to be sci-fi, but yeah.
So,
and I also publish this year.
Oh, I'm so sorry. For anybody who doesn't know what interactive reading is, kind of what's the gist of that?
So I can show you if you want. This series also has something there. So if you go to the stories, you can have the chapters, right? And after, in this case, you have to play an ad because most of the stories are free. So once you read, you click to read, you will watch a small ad. It's going, sorry. And once you go through that, you have the chapters and you have generally a few paragraphs and you make choices. And it's not only branching choices, it's not only dialogue or where to go. I generally use choices as to give you, as to make you feel something about the story or engage you in it, depending on the theme for that particular story. So for example, in the one that I'm going to be showing you is Mean, which is actually in the same universe as the Genesis of Change. But basically, you get a bunch of text, and every bit you get a choice.
So
and depending
like
on the choice that you get. Yeah, more or less. And it goes on, depending on the story, is how you play it. Mean, in particular, you have 2 modes, green and purple. They affect the mood of the protagonist or the thoughts of the protagonist, and it will lead you into 2 vastly different endings. Then we have, for example, Restorers is a sci-fi. It has 6 different endings. Reflections is a weird one. It actually remembers that you play it. So if you play it once, it will change forever. And the next time you read it, it will have something different. Then Means of Egress, I think it's the most complex one that I wrote. It has 182 ways of going through it.
Wow.
And it's a metafictional story, so kind of like it implies that it knows it's a story, kind of, and you
Wow.
can get expelled out of it. And then we have some cozy ones. This one, Herald, is actually based on my cat. So
Oh, awesome. I think that's so cool. So,
yeah, and we are currently inviting authors. So this one that you see here is by Thomas Devens, which is an invited author, and we are having another invited author doing a release on December. I
that
can't
is
tell who they are, but yeah, they are coming. So
that is so much more than I expected. I am so glad that you went through those and kind of the different ways, well, that they vary from
yeah,
story to story. So immediately I have to ask a few questions right off the rip.
yeah, go ahead.
So, okay, without the choice, well, maybe this won't matter. How long are those books? Let's say word count.
So it depends on the story. For example, these two, Restorers and Reflections, those are novelettes around 16,000 words.
Okay.
These two here, they are full-size books. So Mean is 120,000, Means of Egress is 125. One of the new releases that is coming is 140,000, and that's actually based in Australia. So it's going to be interesting. Then Dance With Me, which is the one that I have the portrait there, that artwork, that's 40K. So it's novel size. Herald is novel size, 40K as well. It depends. And the ones that we are inviting from invited authors, we are keeping them around 5,000. So they are short stories. And as you can see, they are all divided into chapters. They unlock as you go on. Every chapter takes roughly 20 to 30 minutes to finish. So you can just stop playing at any time and come back. In particular, in Mean, because it splits open at about chapter 10, it's just very different. Like the story literally branches out into two different pathways. So yeah.
That's vastly impressive. That's huge. So I am sure with all of these different endings that even let's just say let's just say a book could have like 2 or 3 different endings, something small comparatively when it comes to your books, it sounds like. How much longer does it take, or where do you have to be to create these different stories? Do characters change? Does the plot change? That type of thing?
So it depends on the story. I don't always do the same. As a rule in this application, what we do is you always play as a given character. It's not a create your own character. And
Okay.
that's because I wanted to immerse the readers into the characters, to try to think like them. So for example, Mean, you play as one of the alchemists from my novella, and you have basically the choices that you make in there, they alter both the thoughts of this character of Mean. You can get a very revenge focused character in the purple path, or you can get a very introspective, self-blaming character on the green path. And both endings, they vary wildly, but at the same time, they are complementary. So if you really want to know as much as you can from the story, you have to play both. Now, for example, Means of Egress, which is the other one, it's a dungeon crawler. This one,
Oh
you're
yeah.
literally in a dungeon crawler. So the choices are very basically where you go. But depending on where you go, as a secondary effect, you change the character's personality because they start finding out different things, And yeah, and yeah, each of them are different. Reflections, for example, I really wanted to do something weird. This is the one that remembers that you've finalized it and changes it. And that's because the theme of this story is emotional language. So once you go through it, once you understand the language, it will start giving you more details about it, right? And the interesting bit about this one is that you have two POVs. One you can play, the other you do not control. So
Okay.
the interaction between both of them will give you something.
You're
Something
living in
else
the
is that
future. This is
Why?
I can see this becoming huge.
Yeah, we are trying. So the fact that we always wanted with my partner, because we are developing this together, we always wanted to invite writers, but the fact that we were able to do it in 1 year only since we released, that was a win.
Yeah.
And yeah, and this one, for example, Herald, it's illustrated in watercolors because I actually drew the watercolors, and you can get a lot of artwork
Wow.
by playing the story. This one you actually play as a cat. So
That is
the
so
cat is a
cool.
spy, and that's it. Yeah.
The amount of time that goes into each novel, I have to imagine, would be a lot.
It's a lot, especially because they are. I think that somebody asked in the chat if it was written in Twine. It's not. It's
Okay.
the application is developed in Unity, and it's a scripting that we developed with the whole system. So it's basically a mix of writing and programming, and it takes a
So
lot. It's not the same of writing a regular novel, you know.
okay, so I don't know what twine is, and I figured that you would. What is twine, and why? And I can
So
tell that yours is a lot different.
yeah, so Twine and there are a bunch of others are engines or tools that will allow you to write interactive fiction or visual novels. And this is something that we developed specifically because there were things that we wanted to do in these stories. Going to try to speak while I try to reset this so I can show you what I mean. But for example, we have effects in restorers. When the character receives a ping because they are a robot, they will see a flash of red or blue or whatever. And if there is a thunderstorm, you will get some thunder, some effects. There is
Okay.
no music, there is no images. If you get images, they are all very simple drawings that you get like a flat art at some point. That one in there is, I'm going to show it closer. So this is for Dance With Me. It's done in graphite by a Mexican artist. So that story actually has, I think, 9 pieces of artwork that you can unveil, and they are all graphite made that we made digital, but it's not like visual, you just get like an illustration in a book. You will get a flat illustration at some point in some of the stories, not in all of them.
So
in other stories like Mean, you actually unlock the map. So if
you unlock the map.
You unlock the map, and same on Means of Egress, you will unlock the map of the dungeon at different levels, so it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So
Very cool. I know what I'm gonna dive into. That sounds. I had heard of like lit RPG, but not to the point of very much like Grimfell said, interactive fiction on it sounds like a much more massive scale for you.
Yeah, and we try to, I always call the Nerd stories my exploratory grounds, because I tend to just try different things in there. As I said, like Mean is a political grimdark fantasy. Means of Egress is a philosophical dungeon crawler, because I can't help myself. Restorers is a far future sci-fi from the point of view of a robot. Wow. Reflections and Dance With Me, they are both grim in the sense that they both deal with trauma and depression, and they have a lot in there.
A lot of my people will love that, and I do. I love the grim. I like emotional reads for sure.
And then you have the 3 at the bottom. They are on the same world, and they are cozy fantasy. So you get a car spy, a tavern, and a 100-year-old potion maker doing weird stuff. These 2 are slice of life. So basically like a collected shorts about the same character. Yeah. And the 2 new that are coming, they are sci-fi. One, it's going to be a low-sci, far future collector shorts, and the other one is a near future sci-fi actually set in Australia.
Very cool.
2088. And there is a lot about that story. Yeah, I want to share about that one that is coming next week, actually.
So just so I remember, because I'll forget if I don't ask you now. After we're done here, may I have the links to that along with I have your link to the book we actually came here to talk about, and I'm so glad that we talked about. Oh man, I'm so pumped to get it. I'm going to do it tonight. And by the way, that's my wife. She's down to try, and she's not a huge like fantasy sci-fi person. She's not. But like you said, you offer many different genres throughout there, and the dungeon crawler sounds very cool to her.
Yeah, if you want, I can put the link to get it on the chat for the subscribers.
Yes.
Let me see if I can. Okay, I think you may have to approve it if I want to post it.
Okay. Is it through the chat here?
Yeah, so that's the link. And basically, you can Google it. You can find it on Google Play. or the App Store, so Android or Apple, as Unearthed Stories, and you will get it from there. The app is free, and most
Oh,
of the
there it
stories
is.
are free. So yeah.
Okay. I did get it through here. 1 second. I will put it in the chat too. So I'll put it in the description as well, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, that's back to you. 1 second here. What's up, Charlie? Dude, I just seen you pop in,
Hi,
brother.
Charlie.
Another Australian in the house. Grimfell, I don't know. I feel like you're here in the USA, but I've felt that way before. And in fact, I have a future guest coming on. I won't name drop him until I chat with him. I'll tell him. But my UK buddy will say, "Hey, I hear you're interviewing so and so. Man, they live in the same town as me." And I'm like, "Hold on, is he in the USA? I thought he was in the US." But not that it matters.
Yeah.
But sometimes you think things, and it's very cool to kind of find out that you were wrong or I was wrong. What's up, Shane?
Yeah.
Dude, if you've missed anything up to this point, dude, oh man, you have to go back and replay it because she does very, very cool things. So we just got done. Yeah, Grim. Okay, you're in the UK. That's excellent. And again, I thought you was in the USA, brother. See, I have no idea why I would even think that. That's just because I'm here, I guess. But Shane, anyway, she does interactive fiction on a grand scale. And that was the link that I just put in the chat. And I'll also put it in the description. Okay, so that is excellent. And I'm so glad we talked about it. Tell us a little about this wonderful, beautiful
the Genesis
cover.
of Change.
What an
thank
epic
you.
title,
I did it
by the way.
myself.
Yeah, I see. I had a feeling you did. I feel like you do everything. You're the epitome of a self-published. What I enjoy
all the
and
covers,
recommend about that. Go ahead.
All the covers except Dance With Me, which is done by Jose Arturo Bubao, the Mexican artist that I mentioned. All of them I did myself, even the header of the story.
What's his name?
So yeah, Jose Arturo Buba. But yeah, I can.
Okay, I can actually. I know a little Spanish, so I know how to spell that exactly. I'm good with.
So let me put it on the chat. The artist, you can find him as Buba Fine Art on I think Twitter and Instagram as well.
Okay. I like his last name.
And we found him in a very odd way, but the artwork he did for Dance With Me is just at another level. Like I have never seen something. Let me show you the cover. Hopefully you will get it.
Dance With Me?
That was drawn by hand. Yeah. This story is about trauma. And it's a very heavy story to read, even so it's not romance given the title. It's because it's about a ballerina that is the music boxes that you get ceramic figurines at top.
I think so. Yeah.
So she's a ceramic made ballerina atop a music box that is enchanted by elven magic, and things start to happen. She starts to shatter, basically. And the ceramic shattering is a reference to oneself being shattered and destroyed by trauma, basically. So the more that happens and the more she tries to dance, the more ceramic dust will follow or will fall because she's falling apart.
I love that.
I tend to write quite a bit allegorical in general, and that is why, that one. That's a cover. And
that's beautiful.
If you look at it after reading the story, you will find a lot of details in there. Like that clock means something, the books are something, the two little people at the bottom, that's something as well. When I saw that cover, and it was also the first time that I saw my characters being drawn by somebody else. So it will always have a special place in my heart, that story.
So how does that feel to have that, and this idea that's brought to life?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's an incredible feeling. It's like seeing people, sometimes giving me a comment about the app or even taking a picture of a book in their shelves. That's just, at another different level. Yeah.
I thought so too. It's super intricate. What's up, Joe? There he is. Jim McCleary, nice to see you, brother. Fear the beard, he says. Thank you for that. Okay, so tell us about the Genesis. Yes, of change, and kind of
Yeah.
give us a synopsis and your plans for the rest, the series.
Yeah. So actually, this one
Mhm.
happens 5 years before this story.
Okay.
So they are in the same universe. The story is this one, Mean. And it actually started with Mean. I wrote that one first. And then I decided that I wanted to do a universe of games and books. And I said, like, why not? I can do it. And so it started. So this one is mostly trying to present the magic system, which is a
Uh-huh.
blend of alchemy and philosophy. And the plot of this is that the leader of the orders of alchemists, that's why it's called Records of the Orders, they are trying to find knowledge in particular because the alchemists are somewhat researchers to the nth degree. They will do just anything out of for the need for knowledge. These are beings that are immortal and timeless. They are immortal because they are not alive, therefore they can't die. The idea is a bit more complex than that. Just to
And we're
summarize it, so that's in the same universe.
okay.
So basically, the rector, this character, they decide to send two of their top alchemists into two different missions. Alan will be sent to train a woman that wants to be an alchemist, and that's something very weird because she's already waiting at the bottom of the towers when the book starts, and that's the initial scene. And the other alchemist is the second in command, that is called Verve, and they are sent to study a healer, and that's it. So you get both stories. They unite at the end, but the revelation that I can't tell you, that's the genesis of change for the orders. That's why you get the name. And
I love that.
that's basically the thread that will move the series forwards, right? So this happens across, I know it's very tiny, but it happens across 10 years,
Mhm.
5 years, sorry, 5 years, because the whole training of Aurea, which is a human woman, it happens inside the towers, and the towers don't experience time. They are based on I'm not sure if you saw the painter MC Escher,
I
and
have not.
he drew Waterfall and Relativity, that famous drawing of the staircase that are all intertwined, that they don't have perspective. So the towers are roughly like that. They don't have perspective. They don't have time within. So during the training montage, you get the current woman, the future, and several iterations of the future and the past woman all at the same time, because
Wow.
yeah.
And that's
And
ambitious. That has to be hard to kind of is it hard for you? Are you so we'll kind of answer two questions with one. Is it hard to
it
keep
was
continuity? And are you a pantser or do you outline?
No, I'm an extreme plotter. Like, I literally won't be able to put up a single word if I don't have a plot.
Okay.
To that extreme. And I do plotting in an onion style, I will call it. I generally start with the key points that I want to tackle, or where do I want the story to go, and then I refine it. And I have refined chapters up to the dialogue and the body beats, and then written them out. So to me, it's for Sina asking, it's not portal fantasy, it's in a secondary world. The name of a world is not revealed in this one, but they are in the year 5076, if I recall, 72 from Concordia era. So that's something. And that happens in 5 years. 5 years after Genesis, that's where Mean starts. And there are a few references in there. You don't have to read both. So the series that will come up as books, and every book, basically, you don't need to read the books with choices. You get more information, and the characters that are here, you will find them in the books with choices as well. This one is quite, I will say, esoterical, because the two POV characters, Alan and Verve, they are 20,000-year-old alchemists, like 20,000 years old. And I had to write it in a way that it pointed out that they understand the world differently. They have different morals. So it's something like Min is written from the point of view of an alchemist who is only 5 years old. So they have just become an alchemist. Is far more human and far more approachable. These two sometimes will try to define, I don't know, the lining is because of one of the character's powers, and they just, they just see the world in a very different way. It's complex to imagine, and there are things that are like the descriptions of the alchemist. It's not like they are meant to be imaginable, right? So it's a very fine line. Yeah.
I love that. And I'm a huge sucker for anything written and point of views, by the way. I am a huge point of view person. I'm looking at the formatting. I didn't know that I would have preference to formatting. But there, one self-pub author may do that completely different, and maybe not. I've seen good, and I've seen maybe some that wasn't very pleasing to the eye. But this is very, very. It's unthreatening as far as like paragraphs go, and I know how much work goes into that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it also has every now and then it has some diagrams on these, for example, are the 4 orders of alchemists, so that you can get them there. And it's not this alchemy is not the traditional alchemy, so you won't find the sulfur and the salt and all those elements. They are not trying to transfigure gold or metal. So basically you have 4 different orders. There are 3 elements, which are alive elements, and those are the ones this book deals with more, which are emotions, thought patterns, and concepts like identity or attitude. So in order to manipulate them, you have to understand them, and that's why it blends philosophy with alchemy. Then you have, those are the soul transmuters. Then you have the protean reshapers, which manipulate half-alive elements like thunder or lightning, in that case, sound waves and air and fire, and more traditional. Then you have matter transmuters, which manipulate non-alive elements, and there is a bit of sci-fi in there. Perhaps that's more chemical things, like, or things that you have to alter the chemical nature of, like stones or wood. And that's a fine line, because a tree will be half alive, but the wood chopped is non-alive, and so on. And then the machina reshapers, it's more like clockwork. So they make machines, but they cannot create the elements. They have to have the elements and create something from there, right? So you get basically the training montage in this one. It will explain a bit more the elements, because you're following Aurea, and as she goes through the tower and she gets trained to be a soul transmuter, you will find out a bit more of the other elements. And on the other side, you will see how Verve in particular uses some of those elements. The gist is that in general, the alchemists here, they only have one transfiguration. So they can only be either a soul transmuter or a machinery shaper and so on. But so these are the 4. But Verve in particular is these 2 at the same time. So he's a soul transmuter and a protean at the same time. And Alan, it will be like this. So he's a soul transmuter and a matter. So it's not like, the most powerless people. The rector in particular is the only one who actually achieved 4 of them. And that's a character on the opening. So the rector is, very. I really wanted not to write too much on their perspective, because it was too difficult.
No, I get. So I'm anxious to hear some of your inspirations. So kind of, if you would, how long ago, or when age did you find yourself really in love with literature? And even more interested I am is in your inspirations. Kind of, why do you write the way you write, and who do you take inspiration from?
Yeah. So I think I wrote my first masterwork when I was 7 years old.
There you go. Stepping stones. I love this.
Of course, it was the quality of a 7 years old writing, of course. But after that, during my teens, and that was early 2000s, I had a blog, and I wrote like web fiction. It wasn't fan fiction, it was original, and it was purely sci-fi, but I will publish one chapter per week, roughly.
Okay.
And I kept that at that for 5 years or something, but it was all in Spanish, so in my native language. And after that, I just had to stop writing, severe case of life happens for several years, but I kept reading. And in 2021, like I got the bite to write again, and my partner just told me like, write, keyword,
Yeah, that
right?
that had to
He
been
was very
cool.
encouraging. Yeah, he was very encouraging. And I actually started with a story that was neither this or anything that I have published. It's a story that I have been currently planning for 15 years.
Wow.
And I tried to quit it, it didn't work. And there was another case of life happens. And on early 2022, my partner is a video game developer. And he told me, I'm going to make a game so you can write everything you want and you can write any story there. And that's how Unearthed Stories came up.
Okay.
And that is how I actually got back into writing. And yeah, this one came up because this whole world came up because I wrote Mean and the world was just too rich. And I was just thinking I'm planning too much. And I said, like, I'm going to turn that into a full flown series or universe in particular. Now, in terms of what I have read, the first book, sci fi fantasy that I read was actually Dune. I think my dad was looking at the series, was watching the series, and I found the book in my library in my house.
Oh,
It was a
Dune.
Spanish translation, yeah, and I read it first. So that was the first sci-fi that I
That's a
read,
heck of a
sci-fi
first book.
fantasy.
Like
Amazing.
that's one
Yeah.
heck. Like I'll be honest, I picked it up and it's different kind of writing, man.
Yeah,
Herbert does. He's very much a individual as far as writing.
I read the first 4 books, all in the Spanish translation. I am due a reread in English. I have beautiful set right now. Then from that, I found Poe and read Poe,
Ooh,
also translated. It was amazing. Like it was an incredible read.
it was
I
in
got,
Spanish.
yeah. Also, I
Oh,
was
that's
very little.
interesting.
Like,
I wonder
yeah.
how that will translate when you do kind of go through both
What
works.
I can tell you is that I read Tolkien in Spanish and English. Tolkien doesn't sound like Tolkien in Spanish. It's very weird
Okay.
because I read him in Spanish first, and then I read the English version, and I was just like, it doesn't sound like him. It was like there is something lost in the translation. Of course,
Oh,
I
there
like
has to
the
be.
English version. Yeah, it doesn't happen with Poe, at least for my tastes. He
Okay.
reads very similarly. And yeah, after that, I had a phase of supernatural mystery when I was young, and then I just deviated to big sci-fi and things like that. I think I generally have read more sci-fi. You will often find me preaching about the Halo series, that are
Halo.
the games that have amazing books. Like I will
Hmm.
just preach about them all the time. And
Really,
yeah,
I haven't read a
that is when
single one. I need to.
they are amazing, like the best diverse, everything you want in there in a political sci-fi.
Uh-huh.
Every book is different, so it's not always the same, and you don't follow the master chief. Like I think you
That's
can have 2 3 books in which you follow him, and yeah, there are many other points of view. It's very interesting.
wow.
And yeah, those were the early beginnings. Yeah.
So that's incredible. How you were pretty young, you said.
Yeah, when I started reading, like, I was taught to read very young. So probably by 11, I think I was 11 or 12 when I picked up Dune. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty incredible and impressive to be able to understand that prose at 11 or 12. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, me too, Tim. I keep
The
wanting to
Halo
read it.
books, you have to read them. It's a messy timeline. That's the only thing that I will say, because it spans, I think, 50 years, and there
Uh,
are some books that are actually 100,000 years before the main series. So
yeah,
yeah, it's a messy timeline. But after that, if you get the correct order, it's easier. Yeah.
I've only read one series so far that's really spanned that type of timeline, and that was a Sun Eater. I'm not
Warhammer?
done with it. No, a Sun
Yeah.
Eater. Yeah. What
I
was
have it
the?
on my TBR.
Oh, so good. I think you'll like it. I
Yeah.
do. It's a very political. It's well, very character driven.
Yeah.
It's
And
broad.
something that I read far more adult, I love it, is Gene Wolfe, like the Book of the
Mm,
New Sun. I love it. I love
wow.
the fact that you have to, read it twice to actually understand. And there are a lot of clues that he put up in those books that make it a very in-depth read. Yeah. It's not something easy to get
Right.
into, and it's not for everybody's tastes, but yeah, I really like
I'm
his writing.
I have almost taken the dive. That's kind of like Malazan with me too. Like Malazan sounds incredible and also very intimidating. I have a hard time trusting an author,
Yeah.
and that's like the whole series I hear. Not that I
Yeah.
don't like, for instance, some of the best books I've ever read. I'm like, hold on, I'm not quite understanding the points of view where we're going yet. And you finally get there, and it's even more worth it. So I'm guessing that I'll love Malazan and Gene Wolfe too when I take away
Yeah.
how intimidated I've become of those series.
I think it's also a matter of how you read. So if Gene Wolfe, I think in particular, the Book of the New Sun is not a book that you can go with expectations. It's more like reading the first law. You open the
Mm,
first book and you just have to let the plot take you somewhere.
okay.
And I'm generally a reader. I read by curiosity and novelty. So the fact that I generally try not to go with expectations into a book, because I have been severely burned by my own expectations on books.
Yeah,
So,
I get that.
and that one, it starts, if you read The Name of the Wind, you can imagine where it goes. It starts telling you, like, I have to go from A to B.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen at the speed that you think it will happen. So that
I
type
hate
of
to say that.
expectations, you have to put them on check.
Yes, I agree because my expectations of actually that book in particular, Name of the Wind, were very high. And I'm not saying I hated the book, but it wasn't, I don't think it was written as specifically for me.
Yeah.
Some people
It's
love it.
how to say it? There are some books that will foreshadow where the plot is going and will stick to it. And there are
Yeah.
other books like The Name of the Wind or The Book of the New Sun. They will make a foreshadow and the narrator is not to be trusted and they will just go somewhere else.
Is that what now? This is me. I started reading when I was 29. I'm 33. I turned 34 next month, so not very long. And I'm confused by the unreliable narrator. Is that what you would consider an unreliable narrator, where you expect one thing but you get the other? Is that what that means?
I think it's far more complex than that, because there are a lot of reasons why a narrator can be considered unreliable. For example, the narrator may be outright lying to you or omitting information, which is what Quoth in The Name of the Wind does. He omits a lot of information. Then you may have characters that purposefully misdirect the plot, or characters that are in a mind state that may not allow them to see the full reality. Like, for example, somebody may be shocked or going through trauma, and therefore you get a perception that is not reality. Or you may get a
Okay.
character that is a very poor people's reader and may tell you that the other character is angry when in reality they are not, simply because they cannot read it. The kind of unreliable narrator that comes because of the biases the narrator character has as a person.
Wow. I never thought
You may
that deep
also
into it. I
have
love that.
you may also have an unreliable narrator that is because the narrator simply doesn't share your values,
Mm,
and therefore what you interpret is not what they are telling you. But if you reread knowing what they are, therefore you may actually try to understand that they were not unreliable. I think it's quite a complex thing, and that can be done in many different ways, to be honest.
yeah. Wow. And I now that you've kind of covered all those different aspects, I think I've got ideas of books that I've read like that. And I guess maybe I was thinking too hard about it. Like, how can a narrator be unreliable when they're just telling a story? Well, it's the point of view, basically, of what I hear from you. It's that can make it
Exactly. It's like
unreliable.
It's like suppose that something happens at work. You come back home, you tell your partner, spouse, whatever, what happens. You are being an unreliable narrator because you're narrating the facts from your own perspective. By definition, we are all biased. Therefore, it's going to be biased. Probably somebody else that was on the same situation will narrate it differently.
I
Right?
like that.
So,
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that.
yeah.
That really clears it up. So what are you working at? What are you working on at the moment, and kind of what's coming up for you?
Yeah, so I have that release of two sci-fi books that is coming on the app, and I'm working on plotting the continuation for this. The idea I have for now 5 books planned, so it's going to be 2 more standalones that are going to be interactive. But the main series for this one, the whole idea is that I'm actually plotting the 3 books because I would like to release them quite close to each other, you know. So probably I will take a bit more. It won't. My plan is to have them on the second half of next year, the first book out, and then probably very close together, the 3 of them.
I'm very
So
excited to read more of your right, especially those interactive. I would love to have you back, like after I kind of get a little bit more familiar with.
I would love that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
in fact, I would like to. I'm just kind of brainstorm. I always kind of brainstorm about little things, and I even talk about it on here. So I think in the future, maybe doing a read along with maybe a couple of my Discord people or whoever would want to join in. And
I would love that. Yeah.
yeah.
This
So
one, so something that you mentioned is that why I generally write how I write, and to me it's about the themes. You know, every story that I write has a theme. This one goes a bit in depth into the relationship between a struggle and identity, and how to live is to struggle constantly. And it also touches in depth biases. That is why I gave you that answer today. So one of the characters, they have to go, basically there is a lot of bias going on in this story as they try to search for it or what's happening. And the continuation mean actually is more about control, how much you can control. And that's a theme that is quite recurrent in my writing, especially because I like stoicism a lot, and it's a quite an important oh, thank you. I hate my own voice. So that's very nice.
I think we all
Um,
do. I really do. I hate going back and
yeah.
like watching my stuff just because I don't like, dude, I don't like that guy's voice.
Yeah. So mean is mostly about the dichotomy of control in Stoicism, which is basically how much can you control? Do you even control your actions? And that's a bit under question because you may control your intention, not your action, especially when you have a lot of people. In this case, this is a political fantasy. So you have one person, but you also have a bunch of politicians that may be involved in a situation, and they are all taking decisions that may conflict with each other, you know? And means of egress is a concept of love the journey, you know, the fact that everything may happen in your life, things that you planned, things that you didn't, pain and failure, but also successes. Um, Restorers, it's a very basic knowledge enables choice. So the more you know, the more choices you will have. Reflections came from my own personal need of discussing emotional language and how it's very difficult to understand ourselves if we lack the language that we need to put to emotions, you know. And Dance with Me is about trauma. It's about emotional trauma in particular, and how you survive after that, and how that will make you be a different person, you know. So
Themes.
the cozy ones generally have a very simple theme in a funnier way, which is there is more than meets the eye. So there is
Okay.
always something more in there, even if it is tackled in a funny way, you know?
You absolutely know your books. You know, I think that may be weird for some people to hear me say, but you know what you've written. And I think that's cool because themes especially resonate with readers, and to kind of go through the list of your
Yeah.
stories and give that. And I think that's going to attract so many readers just knowing that yourself and
Thank you.
kind of talking about it.
You know, like I generally, when I get the idea for the theme first, or I will say the need for the themes. Like the alchemists and the idea that they go through a transformation comes from my own thinking about how much, and this may be a bit personal, but how much struggle can you endure? And after that, how much of you changes? There is a core that will probably be the same, and that's identity. But after that, you will probably change. And I don't mean physically, I mean your thoughts, your gestures, the way you are, the way you speak, the way you see the world. All of that may change. So that's the concept that originally came to my mind when I wanted to write The Alchemist, the idea of the transfiguration and how soul transmuters in particular need to fully understand emotions in order to transfigure. And that's why it's mixed with Kant's transcendental idealism, because you have to basically think things into reality. In this case, you think emotions into reality. So this one is mostly some ideas of Stoicism that I thought, but also Kant's ideas of transcendental idealism. And that's why I'm taking a bit of time for the plot, because if you reach the end of this, you will realize that there is a big revelation in there, and it's not only a matter of thinking the plot. I need to think the philosophy that enables a magic system, and yeah,
And
that's how it
an
works for me.
alchemist that goes through a transformation. I mean, that's what he
So
does, right? That's what he does. He transforms things. So for that to
then,
kind of happen to him.
so the alchemists, they always start as human, and depending on the branch that they want to go, it's they need to fully understand the element that they are going to manipulate. So because in this case they want to understand emotions to be a soul transmuter, they have to go through, experiment all emotions, all thought patterns. They need to change their attitude and their identity. And after that, basically the only thing that remains is a core, which is a core of thought patterns and identities, and that's it. And they transfigure, and that generates a new being, because that being is, let's just call it, that core of identity and thoughts embodied into something. They have no gender. So the whole story is written as they, them, because they are not alive. They are thoughts embodied,
Okay.
basically.
I love
Thoughts and
that.
ideas and knowledge and embodied into something. So there is far more to this. There is, like, I have the world building that I did for this is huge. So I need to basically not speak too much, or I will spoil where the series goes. But it's very in depth. And in this one, I wanted to introduce the training so that you get an idea of the alchemy and the orders and all of that, but also the towers and the setting, that setting in which time doesn't exist. And they can be for the same person can be at 4 stages of their lives all at the same time.
Oh, wow.
It's
And
not
I
time, but
think
yeah.
that is kind of an experiment for us to do as readers. It sounds like we get to kind of go through that.
Yeah, so it was very difficult. Like when I was discussing it with my partner, I told him I want to do this, and he was like, "That's going to be confusing."
Sure.
How do you come up with something that's not making that confusing? And that's basically during the transfiguration, they have like stages. They have past, then half human, less than human, and so on. So you get the names with the prefix in there, so that you can follow them up.
And I
But
think
it
it
was
takes,
very difficult. Yeah.
I bet. And I think that a lot of people, I've definitely said it before where I could never have written the plot that way because I would have made it confusing, or without this training or without practicing. It's kind of nice. Now tell me your experience when somebody says, that's going to be confusing. Is that like, all right, I'm going to now master it, or I'm going
Yeah.
to do it in a way that I believe isn't confusing?
So I'm generally a walking hold my beer meme. Like if somebody tells me this is going to be difficult, I'm just like, hold my beer, I'm going to do
Yeah.
it. And it's not because I think that I can, it's because I know that I cannot do it until I learn how to. So I'm always trying something different, always trying to learn. And that's what you will find on my podcast as well. I go very in depth into books simply because I like to understand what's happening. I write everything in English, honestly.
English.
This one that has so many they them, I don't even know how I will translate them to Spanish, to be honest, because it's a gender language, so it's not very difficult.
Yeah,
it's not very easy, but
masculine or feminine in Spanish.
Or invent your own, But I write in English purely, and I think
our language is the only thing messy enough to be able to change like that, right?
Yeah.
English
This one,
very
what it does have is that I used medieval Spanish names for the characters. That's why the woman that you will find here, the one that is going to be trained, is called Aurea, and she's, I think, 50 years old. And the other guy, the healer that you will find, I think he's Jordan, and he's 55, something. Like, I generally try to write characters that are older because there is a lot of fantasy written from the perspective of 20 years old. I'm not 20, not anymore. So
I feel your pain.
Me
neither.
Yeah.
I didn't think that I had I didn't think that I had the correct links, guys, but I do. So, do all of your links exist on the campsite.bio?
No, that campsite that I put up is only to install and Earth the stories. You can find me almost anywhere at LiviaJElliot.
Okay.
Literally, LiviaJElliot on Twitter, X, Instagram, and my website is LiviaJElliot.com. So if you go there, this one is actually free for subscribers of my newsletter. So if you you can get the ebook there, and the stories that you get here. So in the app is free to install. All the stories are free except Herald and Means of Egress. I think they are 99 cents or changed to your currency, but everything is free in there. So it's a matter of just checking, and it actually helps us keeping inviting writers. As I said, we have the release next week for my own sci-fi stories, and we have an invited writer coming in December.
So, anything that you publish or cover reveals, anything, like, I would always be down to drop all that for you. So let me know, and I'd be, and I'm just anxious to know anything you drop. So I'll also, everybody go to LiviaJElliot.com. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
Join the newsletter, and then all of her links are there as well.
This one has an audiobook as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it has an audiobook, and I did the special effects myself, so you will find some thunderstorms.
Where is the audiobook? Is the audio?
Everywhere. It's on Audible, Spotify, and if you want, I'm happy to give away one code for Spotify for the people here.
Oh, incredible. Dude, that is incredible. I may be unless I have it already. I feel like I may have it. If I don't, I'm gonna do I always love to add a written review of the story, but also the audiobook. I think because for kids, it is very hard to find actual reading time. So if the audiobook's there, that is like gold for me.
Yeah. And this one, actually, it took me a bit of time to find a narrator because, like, I have a single male character, and the other three characters, they are non-gendered, because the alchemists, as I said, they are non-gender. So it's narrated by a woman, and she has a very nice voice.
I cannot wait. Yes, and Shane too. I know I have a lot of people here who loves, especially Cinepom. That's her deal is audio. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna have all of those links below. Give me maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll have everything there. And secondly, well, first, I would like to just say thank you, Livia.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. I've learned so much during this. I can't wait to talk to you more about it and just have you back on. Maybe we'll do something very soon. Actually, I want to do something with the interactive. I think that would be fun. And I think it would be a first for a lot of people. And like I said before, I think you're living in the future with that. I think that's going to be something that's going to take off.
So if you want, I think that the best ones to read at the start are mean, and that's grimdark fantasy at the purest. Like, be prepared to kill or spare people depending on your choices, if you want, literally. And they also have, like, you will get warnings and tags at the start depending on the stories, and some of the stories have a trigger warning with content that you just have to tap on to see the spoiler. And that's basically, so you can find them categorized. Yeah.
Yes, me too, Grim. Me too, Grimpel. Well,
Yeah, this one is quite grim. Like I put up, the sell your book poorly, and this is 20,000 years old confused humans with lab rats.
yeah.
So
There we go. I
expect a lot of them.
Well, thank you so much, Livia. Everybody go check out. There's links. Grab that newsletter. Grab the physical too if you want. That's on Amazon and I'm sure your website, right?
Yeah. No, it's just on Amazon.
Just on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And everywhere else as well, but I don't sell it on my own website now.
Gotcha. So I'll have all those links below. Thank you so much, Livia. I don't think I have a chat tomorrow, but I'm going to talk about, I don't know if you guys, I'm very excited. On the first, I'm doing it took me a year to get this together. So I wanted to announce it tonight on my live with you, Livia. John Gwynn is coming on November 1st during the day.
Yeah, I saw.
And then Scott Lynch that same night, dude. I got him to come on at the same time, or not the same time, the same day, just that night. So I'm very excited, and I hope you guys can make it. So we will talk very, very soon. Livia, thank you so much. Everybody go grab
thank you so much.
Go to her website. Go to the interactive campsite.bio link and check that out. I know I will be, and we will talk very, very soon.
Perfect.